This video will review the rebilling options in OnTarget. All of these options are found in the Claims desktop, found under the Billing category. There are three main functions to be aware of when it comes to managing and rebilling claims. These options are Delete, Void, and Rebill. We will first discuss the Delete option. This is typically used when a claim needs to be removed so that it is not yet submitted to the payer. The only claims that are eligible to delete are unexported claims, which means they have not yet been exported and submitted to the payer. To find unexported claims, use the status filter. You can further refine your search using any other pertinent filter. Deleting is the best option when reviewing claims prior to submission. Some common errors that are caught are wrong authorizing payers, or funding payers on the claims, along with incorrect sites, as all of this is pertinent billing information. When any errors are caught, the affected claims should be deleted so that they do not get sent to the wrong payer or with the wrong information. Correcting the claims depends on the nature of the error. If the funding payer or insurance info is what needs to be corrected, then the update should be made in the client's insurance record. If the authorizing payer or site information is what needs to be corrected, then the service authorization should be updated. It is important to understand that any time an authorization is corrected, the affected time records must also be updated. This is done in the time record search grid by finding the dates of service and then one by one opening them up to point them to the new correct authorized service. The time records can then be batched and re-invoiced for submission. You may delete by either deleting all of the line items in the search grid or by selecting the lines individually and choosing from selected. Deleting from all will get rid of all claims altogether. Next, we will discuss the voiding options. Once claims have been exported, whether or not they've actually been submitted to the payer, although they most likely will have been submitted, they can no longer be deleted as we just reviewed. So voiding or rebilling are the options. Let's first focus on voiding and the various options here. Client, claim number, claim date or service date, since you are most likely working off of known denials. The paid filter will also be helpful to ensure that you are searching for strictly unpaid claims, as the void option should only be used in that case. A claim must be selected in order to see the various void options. As a tip, you can select multiple lines by clicking the first line, holding Shift, then clicking the last line to quickly select all claims in that range. Another tip is, rather than holding the Shift key, hold your Control key and click accordingly. Note that when selecting one line, if there are multiple dates of service associated with that claim number, then all of the lines within that claim number will get voided. All voiding affects all dates of service on a claim. In this case, claim 16521 has multiple dates of service. Therefore, all dates will be voided regardless of whether or not I've checked a line. Void only is used to void an existing exported claim where all lines on that claim are not paid. When doing so, this has now freed the time records up to be edited or deleted as necessary in the time records desktop. It is important to understand that if the time record is not edited or deleted, then it will be pulled in again with the same claim info the next time any batching of time records takes place. To prevent the same claim that was just voided to go back out to the payer in the same state, the time record will need to be updated by either deleting or editing. Again, this all takes place in the time records desktop. If notes are implemented and a note generated that billing, then the note should be updated rather than the time record to ensure they match. To do so, delete the time record and communicate with the supervisor of the note. Once the note has been corrected, the time can be re-imported and billed. It is recommended to let the system run the notes on approval functionality in that case, which we will speak more of in a minute. When notes are implemented, however, there is another course for rebilling that is recommended. So while it's important to understand this voiding option when notes are implemented, you will learn more about a more automated process shortly. The next option under void is to void and notify payer. This is used to void an existing exported claim where any date of service on the claim has been paid. In addition to voiding the claim, this also notifies the payer to recoup the funds paid on the whole claim. This function requires a reference number, also called a claim header ID number, the DCN number, ICN number, TCN number, or claim number depending on the payer. This is the main difference from the void only option. Void and notify is used only when there is a payment applied to any date on a claim that needs to be rebilled. Again, please note that on multiple date claims, no matter what you select, the whole invoice will be voided. It's also important to be aware of the payer's timely filing limits and that all of the dates of service on the original claim will be paid back when using this function. Just as with the void only option, after voiding and notifying the payer is successful, this has now freed up the time records to be edited or deleted as necessary, taking into account all the considerations discussed under the void only option with respect to notes. The next two options, void with replica and void with replica and notify payer, create an exact copy of an existing claim that was originally created by adding directly in batch billing. Replica rebills are only used when your agency enters claims directly into batch billing. In that case, no notes, caregivers, or time records are associated with the claim. You can verify whether or not a caregiver is associated by reviewing the caregiver column. If a name is here, void with replica is not an option. For that reason, this option is rarely used. Replica rebills cannot be selected for any other billing. If you need to make changes to billing that was entered directly in batch billing records, use the void only option, which removes the billing altogether from the system. New records can then be re-entered into batch billing in the event corrections to the client or service authorization had to be made. A very important final note before moving on. If a claim needs to be voided, as already discussed, there is a different path for rebilling when notes are implemented. If a claim needs to be voided and the origination of the billed service is from a note, you should allow the OnTarget Notes on Approval functionality to process the void by zeroing out or editing the corresponding note. Notes that are zeroed out are given the same start time and end time by the caregiver of the note. Once a zeroed note is re-signed by the caregiver, re-approved by the supervisor, and then re-imported to time records, a void of the corresponding claim is automatically generated by the system. And if a payment was made on the claim, a notification will be sent to the payer to recoup the funds paid on the whole claim. This process only works if Notes on Approval is enabled for the corresponding payer. This is handled in the payer's desktop. As long as Override NU is not checked, then the Notes on Approval functionality will operate. Lastly, we will discuss the Rebill option. This is an option that does two different functions based on whether the claim is paid or unpaid. It voids all original invoices associated with the date of service in question and creates a new or replacement invoice with all units aggregated on one invoice, sometimes multiple, if appropriate. The dates rebilled will only be on one invoice when aggregated. In this case, I'm going to change the status to confirmed. These are all invoices that have been exported and confirmed and posted to the general ledger. After you've selected an eligible claim to be rebilled, click on Rebill Selected to void the original claims. When all lines on the claims are unpaid, new claims will be created. When any lines on the claims are paid, replacement claims will be created with the original reference number. Common scenarios where you may need to use the Rebill Selected option include claims with an incorrect insurance payer ID number, an incorrect service code rate or authorization number, incorrect diagnosis, or other incorrect consumer demographics information. This is an easy way to send the claim back out with just updated client information. You will need to ensure that the information has been corrected at the source, such as the client's insurance record or in the service authorization, prior to completing any rebilling. Should you have any questions regarding the rebilling options, please submit your questions by going to Options, Support, and Contact Support.